Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, let's do this. Hey guys, what's going on? Good afternoon. Good afternoon to people on the Midwest and on the East Coast. That's what I was going to say. Good morning to people on the West Coast, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone else around the world. How's it going, guys? This is hashtag TNT JoeFi. I am your host, Jerome Ortega. TNT JoeFi stands for Tech News that Jerome Ortega finds interesting, where we go over news that I find interesting. This is day number something something in quarantine. This is episode number something something for TNT JoeFi, and let's just start. It was going so well, and then I messed up there. Let's get started. Is what I was trying to say. It's kind of a lighter tech news day today, but we'll go through a couple things. If there is anything you guys want me to touch base on in chat, let me know. But just wanted to say hi to everybody, so I'll go do that right now. Ronaldo De Leon, what's up, everyone? What's up, Ronaldo? What's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Tobez Nwajagu. What up, guys? What up, Tobez? How you doing, man? Nice to see you as well. Paul, hi. Hey, Paul, how's it going, man? How you doing? Brian's in here too. What up? Brian saying what up to everybody. Tech for your needs. Hello, folks. Hey, Tech for your needs. How's it going, man? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you again. Selwonk. Oh, I missed that one. Selwonk, I'm on time. There you go. Yes, you are. Selwonk, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Ronaldo, West Coast morning. Yeah, man. Where in the West Coast? I just moved back. I lived in California. I moved back to Chicago in February, but I was out there for about half a year. Just wondering if you're in Cali or where you're at. Anyway, guys. Paul is saying Holland 8:23. So good evening. That's kind of prime time for Holland, I guess. So not a bad thing for me, I guess. But nice to see everyone, man. Nice to see everyone in general. So again, it's not so much of a busy tech day. There are a couple things that maybe we'll go through, and then we'll have a conversation. If you guys have anything that you want me to talk about, do bring it up in chat. We can talk about it there and see what's going on. But I do have a couple stories, and we'll go through that and just see what happens. So let's get started. And the first thing I want to talk about is Realme. So Realme is another one of these other brands. I guess that's the best way to put it, because I don't know much about Realme, and we've talked about the other brands that are out there: Vivo, Oppo, Xiaomi, Poco. Is it me, or do they mostly end with vowels? Realme, Poco, Xiaomi, Vivo. Dude, they all end in vowels. What are other brands that I'm missing here? Anyway, this phone from Realme, I thought I would bring it up because this is one of the phones that has a Snapdragon 865 in it that's going for a cheaper price. And I don't know much about it. I don't think it's coming to the States. I think it's for the markets in Asia, and it looks like it's also coming out in Europe. But I just figure we might as well be versed and see what other phones are around. This isn't just about the Pixel. There are other things that are going around, or that are going on around the world in tech, and we should go talk about it. So the Realme X50 Pro Player, which is really confusing because apparently there is a Realme X50 Pro 5G. But this one, apparently the Realme X50 Pro Player is meant for gaming, I guess, will be fully unveiled a week from now on May 25th. So less than a week. Today, the company lifted the veil just a bit to show the features that will be at the heart of the phone: performance and connectivity. Have any of you guys, I might as well ask, do any of you guys know about the Realme phones? Have you ever owned a Realme? I might have asked this before, but I figure the more I ask and the more continuously I ask it, then the more I'll get to remember what these goddamn brands are. The Player will be powered by the flagship Snapdragon 865 chipset. Oh, maybe that's why it's called a Player, because it's a gaming phone. Maybe. Gaming headset. No, gaming phone. So it's going to have a Snap 865. It's going to have the newest type of RAM. So it's going to have LPDDR5 RAM, and it's going to have UFS 3.1 storage. So the fastest storage you can get. So high specs all around. The first teaser image boasts performance improvements, though we're not quite sure what the basis is here. It's certainly not the X50 Pro 5G, which uses almost the same hardware, although it does come with the older UFS 3.0 storage chips. But 3.1 brought write and power use optimizations. Raw throughput is the same. Anyway, the phone will have 5G, Wi-Fi 6 for high-speed, low-latency connectivity. 5G in particular will offer download speeds up to 2.3 gigabits per second. The Wi-Fi could be even faster, but the company did something interesting with LTE too. The next teaser image shows a 360-degree antenna coverage for LTE, which will significantly improve the stability of the connection. You don't want drop packets in a fast-paced game. It makes me wonder, this antenna coverage, I wonder how good the antenna coverage is here for LTE compared to like phones we use today. Anyway, Tena, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, TENAA, shows that the Realme X50 Pro Player Edition will have a less capable camera, a main sensor down to 48 megapixels, and the telecam will be dropped. The screen will almost certainly be kept the same, a 6.44-inch OLED with 90 hertz refresh rate, which is the more important bit. So as far as these pictures go, if you look at it, right, it has your vertical like array, 4 cameras. It looks nice, but again, I don't know if we're ever going to see this come to the States. Probably meant for more of a landscape usage if it's for gaming. I also don't know how many people game on their phones or who uses their phones specifically for gaming. I would imagine people who game on their phones either don't have a console or a PC, or maybe they do. Maybe they're just hardcore gamers that want to game on their phones as well as their consoles. But I don't know. I don't know many people that I know people who like to play a lot of games on their phones, but they're not hooking up a controller to their phones. And I don't know. Maybe I just don't hang around those kind of people, but I just don't know many people that game with their phones that kind of way. Anyway, the other important part is the lower price. The Player is expected to start at around CNY 3300 compared to CNY 3600 for the regular X50 Pro, which is coming to Europe at €600. So the thing about this price though is this 3300 with the 865 chipset. I think if I did the math on it, it's around $475. That's super cheap. 3,600 yuan, I think, is $515 or something like that. And then, well, in Europe for €600, I think that's like 650 US. So still, at the end of the day, they're much cheaper phones with a 865 chipset compared to what we can get here in the States. I think the only competitor, I think the cheapest, what is the cheapest? The cheapest 865 Snapdragon chipset, I think, is the Poco. The Poco F2 Pro that is getting announced, I think, is going to be $500 US or $540 US. I think it's $500 US if you get it now. Like, I think there's a promo if you can get a Poco F2 Pro or pre-order it or whatever. But you know, I mean, to see a price under $500 in in Asia for a Snapdragon 865 chipset just makes me wonder why they're priced so goddamn high here in the States. I don't know. If we do go and we kind of dig into these specs, so this is the X50 Pro Player, again, a 6.44-inch OLED display. So, it's expected next week, less than a week from now. And you'll see a Snapdragon 865, an Adreno 650 GPU, and then 128 gigs of internal storage with 8 gigs of RAM, or you can get the 12 gig version with 256 gigs of internal storage. And I don't know how much more that's going to put it, but still, the starting price for it is super cheap. And then it just has a lot of other just high-end specs. 4,200 milliamp hour battery. Look at the fast charging, 65 watt fast charging, 100% in 35 minutes. And then this X50 Pro 5G, which is, I guess, the other variant of it, not their gaming handset that was released in March of 2020, is the same thing, right? Snapdragon 865. It also has 12 gigs of RAM with 256 gigs of internal storage. And then it even has better camera optics or better camera hardware, because I guess it's not meant for gaming. It's more for just like phone usage. But again, look at this price, $550. That's super cheap. Why can I not? What is Banggood? Can I order it on? Look at that, $619 US for the 12 gig version. I mean, even if I was able to order it, yeah, it ships from Hong Kong, but I probably can't use it in the States, right? Can I use this in the States? Dude, that's so cheap for I don't know. I'm just curious. It's such a cheap price for what you can get compared to what they're offering us here. I don't know. I guess that's the thing that kind of, I guess confuses me. I see Tectonic is in here as well. Hey, Tectonic, welcome to the stream, man. Nice to see you in here. Sketchy practices, rather. That's true. I mean, I don't know anything about these phones. Yeah, their support for their phones is garbage. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. I wonder though if as far as modding these phones, like if I could throw something else on it, how good that would be. It's just crazy though to see again how Salwonk, that's a good point. The site says it's unsecure, so I wouldn't trust it. Very, very true. Tectonic, yeah, hi man. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Yeah, again, it is, I guess for me at the end of the day, still to see an 865 chipset with like 8 gigs of RAM or 12 gigs of RAM and such a cheap price point just makes me wonder how they fare over there, like really how well they work. I think what's going to happen is just, especially in China, you're just going to see a bunch of brands keep making the phones, because I think they're realizing they're probably not, well, I don't know how hard they are to make. I don't know as far as hardware and software and putting it all together, how hard it is to make, but this is actually going to be a really good segue to kind of talk about. I see Brian just used the face palm. the new emoji that I put out there for you guys, for members for people who are members on my channel. Nice use of the face palm emoji. I feel like it might come to use for any time I'm bitching about phones. Ronaldo says, I learned my lesson when I got the Poco phone. Could not use it on T-Mobile and AT&T. That's a good point. I've heard many people having issues using the Poco phone F1. I think there were workarounds on it, but they weren't easy, right? I think there were such like loopholes, or not loopholes, but it was such an, it was just such a struggle just to get it to work on LTE. And that probably will be the same way for these phones. But yeah, again, it's just something to look at, just curious. And, I know there are people who aren't here in the States either who are looking at some of these phones, and it might be something of use to them as well. Ronaldo says, I made 2 videos on my channel about the Poco phone, and it's not a bad phone. It's just the no support for LTE bands. So my question is, how well would it work? Do you think these LTE bands are going to work for the F2, the Poco F2 Pro here in the States? I wonder how well they're going to be of use here. I wonder if they have all those bands listed out already, as far as, connectivity here in the US. I see Y 2019 here as well. Y, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Sorry, I'm just scrolling back up just to make sure I didn't miss much. I'm not going to be able to go through everything, guys, but if we get a slower point here, we'll talk through a couple other things. Yeah, Brian says I hate phone compatibility. I hate phone compatibility issues. I totally hear you, man. I mean, you're buying a phone so you can use it outside of Wi-Fi. So you need something that's going to give you everything, as far as all the bands, as far as connectivity, especially where you're at, which is here in the US. So I see 1C2 Creative. Hi, everyone. Hey, what's going on, man? I would say your name again, but I hate saying it because it's such a pain in the ass. I just want to say 12 Creative or 12 Creative, but how's it going, man? Nice to see you in the stream. Welcome. Ronaldo's saying, that's what I've been saying. Should I get the new one now that it has 5G support? Yeah, for the F2 Pro. Yeah, who knows? I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. 12 Creative. Now I know how to say it. That's how I'll say it from now on. So nice to see you in the stream. Nice to see you, man. Real quick, guys, before I do continue on to the next story, just real quick, if you guys haven't, feel free to please like the video. If you haven't, liking the video helps me in an algorithmic kind of way, aka I think it just helps people find the stream. If you guys haven't, feel free to say hi. I don't bite. I think my community, they're pretty nice. We like to have a good, intelligent, civil discussion with, a few prodding and poking here and there. It's just bound to happen. But if you guys haven't already, feel free to subscribe. I do stream Monday through Fridays at around, I was going to say 12 p.m. Central, but lately it's at around 1 p.m. Central. But I do stream weekdays. We talk about tech. And then lastly, guys, if you guys haven't, if you see people in the chat with green in their names and you see a red Chicago star next to their name, that's because they are a member of this channel. Being a member of this channel is real easy. You could do it for as little as 99 cents a month. You'll get the green next to your name. You'll get a red Chicago badge, a red Chicago star badge, and you get to use custom emoji. So yeah, you could do that for as little as 99 cents a month. There are other tiers, but I mean, just to even support me for $1 a month, that does mean a lot to me. You'll get your name on the intros and outros of every one of my live streams. Plus, yeah, you just get to be part of the chat, part of the community, and any kind of help is appreciated. And if you guys can't, I totally understand too. Just being part of the stream, joining, saying hi, saying what's up, it means a lot to me, and that support as well. So thank you either way. Okay, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about the next story. And we're gonna get, I feel like I've been exhausting Pixel talk, but the Pixel lineup, Google Pixel phones are some of my favorites, and it's something that I pay very close attention to. And I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't excited for the Pixel 4a, because I'm pretty excited about it. One, because, and I had a friend who was just talking to me about this earlier today, a friend of mine who isn't the biggest phone guy, but he kind of has been leaning on me for phone advice for a while. And he's owned a good amount of Nexus phones. And then currently he's owned he has a OnePlus 5. And today he texted me because he was like, hey, he's like, Jerome, what do you think of, the Pixel 4a at 349? And I said to him, I said, because he's wondering if it's a good upgrade from the OnePlus 5. And I I said it will be a good upgrade in a lot of other terms, maybe not performance wise, but for a $350 price point, I think the Pixel 4a is kind of a resurgence of the Nexus lineup. Now, it's not going to be the most performance oriented phone because I think even when I told him, when he was asking me about the OnePlus 5, I think I was like, the performance might be on par with your OnePlus 5. I don't even know if it's going to be exactly on par. I don't even know if it's going to be better in terms of performance. Because what does the OnePlus 5 have? The Snapdragon 835. But I said, as far as, the camera, it's going to beat it in the camera department. My friend told me, he was like, because he's had his OnePlus 5 now for a couple of years and it's still, it's still good for him, good to him in terms of just what he needs to use it for. But he's like, the only thing with my OnePlus 5 is like during this is what he texted me today. He said in the afternoons, he's already down to 60% and he's barely touched the phone. He's like, I think my battery's dying. I'm like, I think your battery's dying. So he was asking me about he was asking me about the Pixel 4a, but then he was also asking me, should I wait for the Pixel 5? And I said, well, it depends. Can you wait until October or November? Well, probably October. Otherwise, the Pixel 4a is going to be coming out in June. Anyway, it was a good discussion to have, and it's actually something that I just wanted to bring up into chat as well because, it's what would you do? What if your friend told you that they had a OnePlus 5 and they were thinking about the Pixel 4a? Because for him, price is important, but he's kind of really gotten into camera stuff lately. He used to never care about the camera, which is why he loved Nexus phones, because he's like, it doesn't matter if the camera's not the best, but now he wants something with a better camera. And now that he is a OnePlus 5 and he's used the camera here and there, he's just like, I hate using this camera at night on the OnePlus 5 because it's just, it doesn't give you the same performance as what a Pixel 3, Pixel 4 kind of phones have given you. But let's talk about this article. I know I kind of strayed away there just because it was Pixel related, but let's talk about this article from Android Authority. And I'm only going to read part of this because I want to actually get into the bigger article, which is from The Verge. So Google CEO Sundar Pichai says hardware is hard in interview about Pixels. When I read this, hardware is hard, I think I don't know if you guys know that meme about woodworking and they're saying it's wood. Never mind. I'm unless you know what I'm talking about, you're not going to. Okay. Anyway, last week we got a rare behind the scenes look at what's going on with the Google Pixel hardware team. Unfortunately, the news was mostly bad, with internal complaints about the Google Pixel 4 design, poor sales of that device, and the exiting of two major players on the Pixel team. This morning, The Verge published an audio interview conducted with Google's and Alphabet's CEO Sundar Pichai. During the interview, Pichai discusses the Google Pixel hardware philosophies, the difficulties the company faces, and what the future holds for the Pixel division. He sums it up best when he says very matter-of-factly, hardware is hard. So I'm going to switch over to this because I just wanted to segue with that part of the article. Hardware is hard. We sit here and we bitch about these companies fucking up phones all the time. Why has Google messed up with the camera on the Nexus lineup year after year? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? Why did they get some of these things right? And then they moved into the Pixel brand. And I thought once they did that, then everything was going to be better. When the Nexus 6P came out, I was really happy about that phone because I really liked a lot of things about that phone. The camera, especially year after year after the camera was kind of the Nexus 6P made me go, holy shit, this camera is really good. The only issue I had really with that phone back in the day was it didn't have, optical image stabilization. It didn't have electronic image stabilization. So the video on it was awful when you were trying to walk around with it. Otherwise, I was pretty happy with that phone. unfortunately, that phone ended up having a lot of issues for a lot of people when it came to boot looping. And that's why they ended up having a whole lawsuit and people got a bunch of checks for that, which I should have cashed in on, but I didn't. I own multiple Nexus 6Ps, by the way. None of them ever boot looped on me, but I was lucky. So let me continue on because again, we can sit here and we can give them a lot of shit, but we also don't know all the behind the scenes, the inner workings of what happens when they make these phones. But it still doesn't mean we can't voice our complaints and say why did it have to be like this? Why did the battery for the Pixel 4 have to be like this for 2019? Why did they add Soli if they're going to drop it this year? Why? Just a lot of whys, and it's not a bad thing to question these things. It's just again, I said it yesterday. I just want to see Google do better. So there's a little to discuss in this. I'll give you my thoughts. I mean, we can talk about it in chat as well, but I haven't read this article. I just skimmed it, so we'll kind of go through it here. What Sundar Pichai's long-term hardware commitment means for the Pixel. Small things now, hopefully bigger things later. Last week I wrote about Google's somewhat confounding hardware strategy in the wake of a report about internal conflict from the information. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about here, it was a lot of talk about Mark Lavoie, who left the Google Pixel team. Mark Lavoie was the person who was behind a lot of, I guess, the success. I'm assuming the success of Google Pixel's photography, the camera department, the computational photography, things like night sight, things like portrait mode, and that kind of success. And he left. The GM of the hardware division on Google Pixel's team left as well. Anyway, the whole interview is worth a listen. Pichai is in charge of one of the most important tech companies in the world, and big tech has taken on such an outsized role in our lives that it's only natural that it's taking on an outsized role in the coronavirus response. All right, let's just kind of pick apart the main points in here. I want to zoom in on Pichai's responses about Google's hardware division because I do think they're illuminating, not in a sharp spotlight kind of way, but in a soft glow on the horizon kind of way. Not to belabor the metaphor, but when it comes to Google's hardware efforts, there's a bit of a, quote, darkest before the dawn vibe. Pretty much, I don't know. I don't know if they're saying, well, we're going to have some hardships first, so, bear with us. But we've been bearing with them for a long time, since the fucking, when they released their initial Google Nexus phone. How long has that been in the running for now? So how long do we deal with, hey, we're going to have a couple bumps in the road, while Apple has been getting, I'm not saying Apple's perfect either, but I feel like at least a lot of the stuff they're more on the right than they are on the wrong at this point. I asked specifically about the Pixel, but Pichai wanted to put it in a larger context. I'm quoting the beginning of his answer in full here because I think it contains the seeds of the rest of our discussion. The last couple of years have been a major integration phase for us because we've combined our Google hardware efforts with Nest. We absorbed the mobile division of HTC. Let's also not forget they absorbed Motorola, or they bought Motorola out. And when they bought Motorola out, I really thought that this was going to be the beginning of them putting out some really good hardware, because after the success of the Moto X Pure and even just their smaller Moto G, I really thought that they had everything down pat. But yeah, I don't know. So it's been a lot of stitching together, and we have a wide product portfolio too. So it's definitely been a building phase. Yes, I understand they have a big portfolio. They have a big hardware portfolio. They have a big software portfolio. But why has it been so difficult still? We're super committed to it for the long run. Hardware is hard, and it definitely has components which take real time to get it right, thinking about underlying silicon or display or camera or any of those techs. And so we are definitely investing in it, but that timeline, I think we've made a lot of progress. Yeah, I believe they have, but maybe I don't know, maybe what's been happening is they have too much shit going on right now and they just don't have anything streamlined. So they keep trying new things and they keep testing different things, and then they keep dropping stuff, and then they lose loyalty in the consumer. at that point, or they lose trust in the consumer. And I think that's where the issue is. Pichai is not wrong that the hardware division under Rick Osterloh has had a lot of corporate distraction. The HTC mobile division was acquired in 2017. Osterloh has said the first phone to fully come out of that division was a Pixel 3a. And Google made the public announcement that it was reabsorbing Nest from Alphabet almost 1 year ago. So fair. There's been a lot going on, but if there's a getting in your own way and squandering an opportunity example worth of a canonical Harvard Business Review case, Google's handling of Nest is it. You would think that a company as big and multifaceted as Google would be able to walk and chew through an internal merger at the same time. One of the reasons that it's been frustrating to watch the Pixel struggle to catch on is that smartphones seem like a solved problem. That's obviously an oversimplification at best, but companies big and small crank out Android phones at a dizzying pace every year, hell, every week. You'd think Google could figure it out. And I think that is where a lot of the questioning is. Google's a big ass company that does a lot of things, and for them to still have issues with Google hardware in general is it's questionable. It really is questionable. It's kind of like, where did they come up with this? How is this the end product? I think is the question. Adding more engineers and resources doesn't necessarily make it easier. Still, explanation is an absolution, and I think Google's hardware division could have done more over these past few years. All that history is what it is. What's more important about the exchange is when Pichai answers the question I posed last week in this newsletter. What is Google hardware for? It turns out that, as with many other things in tech, what you think is the obvious answer turns out to be the obvious answer, or three answers. So the three reasons: one is to drive computing forward. The second is to really guide our ecosystem. Pretty much we've done well. You can go all the way back in Android's early days, Samsung's Galaxy Nexus. That's my very first Nexus phone, which we worked together, was a pivotal phone, was one of my favorites. Nexus 7, I also owned a Nexus 7. I was really big into Google products when I switched over from iPhone. I can point to Chromebooks. I owned a Chromebook, but none of the top end ones. And I look at areas maybe where we haven't done opinionated work. Maybe smartwatch is a good example where we haven't. And then you can see it's tough to guide an ecosystem to what your vision of it is, just building the underlying platform. So I think that's the second reason. And third is really build a sustainable hardware business. I think all of it is important, and that's how I think about it, and I'm excited. Rick Osterloh and team, working closely with Hiroshi Lockheimer and team, they have that long-term view, so we're pretty committed to it. And that's all fine and dandy. I'm just afraid that when you have a long-term commitment and you're not doing the right things right now, you're gonna have a hard time convincing people to come back and buy your shit. We talked about this on last Friday, when I had a Friday night tech talk with the rest of the guys that, I'm close with. And we did a whole article on Google Stadia. Google Stadia is a big mess right now. Nobody's using Google Stadia. The article pretty much discussed how people who have Google Stadia, they end up playing by themselves or playing with bots because nobody is on that fucking platform, because the support isn't really there. It's not perfect. The hardware isn't the best. And people are like, why am I paying a $10 a month subscription to something where nobody's even on here? Why would I pay that money? Why would I be invested in it? And I think a lot of that also has to do with their past hardware and people saying, well, why would I trust Google if they keep dropping the ball year over year over year? Not everybody feels that way. People might say, well, I'm loyal and I'm going to stick with the product and I want them to do their best, and that's fine, but that's hard. Not everybody feels that way. And so you think about another big company like Apple, who has a solid hardware division, a solid ecosystem. And that's not to say that Google doesn't have solidified hardware, solidified software, but a lot of it, when they drop a lot of these components, when they drop software that they were building, like Google Hangouts and all of the other failed attempts, it's hard to stay loyal. If you've been watching Google's hardware hardware efforts over the years, there is just so much you could unpack here. The admission that Google squandered its first mover advantage in smartwatches, the fact that the first two reasons are the exact reasons Google created the Nexus program before the hardware division existed. The idea that Google needs to do opinionated work, which I distinguish from just trying to make the flat out best thing possible. Finally, there's the part of the original quote where Pichai looks ahead talking about components which take real time to get it right because, or thinking about underlying silicon or display or camera or any of those tacks. Later, he adds, because some of the deeper efforts we are putting in will take 3 to 4 years to actually play out. And when they come in, I think I'm excited about how they will shape where we're going. I don't know. That makes me, when I read that, that makes me feel like, so you're telling us that it's going to take 3 to 4 years to get it right. So why should we buy any of your shit today? Why make anything today when just release it out in 2024 and say, okay, guys, here, we're good. Now you can buy our stuff because we have a solid product that we're going to support. It's going to have an ecosystem that you're going to really, be invested in. When I think about the investments, or when I think about investments that will take 3 or 4 years to actually play out, I wonder what that might be. Wonder what they might be, especially in the phone space. Maybe this is just wishful thinking. But to me, there's only one Android component that really fits the bill: the processor. As I said before, Android smartphones are practically a commodity. A big part of the reason for that is so many of them just use Qualcomm's processors. That means every year a lot of Android phones have new capabilities that are defined by whatever Qualcomm's new chips are capable of. And so we've talked about this, and Google is finally working, or at least from what we've been reading, Google is working on producing their own chips, their own processors, so that now they can decide how to really bang out their performance, how to compete against Apple, because Apple makes their own chips, how to make stuff more efficient, and how to make the hardware actually work with the rest of the components, with the rest of the stuff that they're putting together. But a custom chip would mean Google could potentially differentiate its products more, not just phones, but Chromebooks too. In April, Axios reported on just such a chip, codenamed Whitechapel. It's reportedly being manufactured by Samsung and may arrive as soon as next year. So we're not talking Pixel 5, we're talking Pixel 6, and then whatever Chromebooks could possibly be added to it. Google has demonstrated some capability in chip design before, by the way. It has created machine learning tensor processing units, so-called TPUs, for servers, and imaging processing chips for its phones. Is that what Pichai was hinting at? No idea. But whatever he was referring to, it does seem clear that we are still at least a year or 3 or 4 away from those investments coming into fruition. In the meanwhile, I think Google is going to need to show a little more momentum. I agree. Google reportedly put out a survey recently that suggested the price of the upcoming Pixel 4a would be $349, undercutting the competition by $50, which hopefully is the case, which would make me very excited. I guess we'll wait and see. We only have, I think, a week and a half to find out if the Pixel 4a is going to be $350. It also suggested that this year's flagship Pixel 5 might not try to compete at the ultra premium tier. Both ideas strike me as smart. When I asked Pichai how much time he personally spends thinking about hardware, he noted that he had a meeting that morning looking at next year's hardware portfolio. I jokingly asked him if there was anything he wanted to tell us from that meeting. He replied, you guys are going to figure it out anyway. Yeah, I want to be optimistic. I always want to be optimistic when it comes to Google and their hardware. I want to see them do some good shit. It's just my time and my effort reading into it is just not as invested as it used to be. I use my iPhone 11 Pro as my daily driver, guys. That's been my phone ever since the 11 Pro came out in September of 2019. Before that, the Pixel 3 was my go-to phone. I was using that pretty much exclusively. Right? Yeah, I was using that phone more than anything else at that point. And I really want to get back into using my Pixel phone as my daily. I have my Pixel 4. It's my secondary phone. When I have both of those phones in my pocket, the 11 Pro is what I pull out more than my Pixel 4. And it kind of pains me to say that because I wish I didn't have to say that. That hasn't, the My iPhone that I own now, I've owned every iPhone, guys. I've owned also every Nexus phone, beginning from the Galaxy Nexus, all the way up to every Pixel phone. And that it was either a Nexus, or it was either a Nexus, a Pixel, or a OnePlus. Those were my daily phones for a long time, year over year. But in 2019, the iPhone 11 Pro overtook that, and it's weird because I even though like I'm transparent and I'm honest when I tell you that that's my daily driver now, but it also makes me kind of cringe when I say it because I wish it wasn't. I wish the Pixel 4 was my daily when, if when people ask me, but it's not. And hopefully the Pixel 5 can change that. When the Pixel 4a comes out, I'm really looking forward to that as well. I just want to see Google get their shit together. And I really thought that they were going to when the Pixel first arrived, and I had high hopes, but yeah, I don't know where it's going right now. I really don't. So, okay guys, let me go into chat here. Let me say hi to everybody. I see Brian here with the dollar super chat. Brian, thank you so much for the support, man. Thank you for the continued streak. I promise you I will take note on how many days of that dollar super chat or super chats in general in a row. But Brian, thank you so much for the support. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Also everybody else, thank you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for just joining in the chat, liking, just being part of the stream. It means a lot to me, guys. Thank you. Okay. Ronaldo says Pixel is my favorite as well. I just hope they come hard this year and make a big buzz this year. I do. I hope so as well. I think that they can, if they can get the cameras right this year and if they can price it right. That's my hope. I think the Pixel 3 or the Pixel 4a pricing at $350 is a great start. I think is a fabulous start. I think they'll make some buzz if they can at least get that footing in there and knock some wind out of the sails for the iPhone SE. Tectonic says, I can say I came from a OnePlus 6T to a Pixel 3a XL. I love the Pixel a lot more. Tectonic, I'm with you. I mean, I've owned both. I have shit. I don't know where it's somewhere. I'm not looking for it right now. I have a OnePlus 6T, and I like the OnePlus 6T. I just don't like that fingerprint reader. I also prefer the Pixel 3's camera over the OnePlus 6T, but the OnePlus 6T is really good with Gcam. It's not as good at night. But otherwise a great phone. But yeah, I'm the same way. I preferred my Pixel, and I still do. Deepak Murthy, hi Jerome. Hey Deepak, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you come back. So glad to see you in here. Tectonic says the 4A would fare nicely to him. Yeah, I think so too. I really think it's a good buy, and hopefully he'll look into that. Brian says he'll get a better camera and battery. Totally agree. One two creative says if Google tries to sell the Pixel 5 with mid-range specs for $699, man, they just need to kill it and start over with something new. I've been saying this for a while. Brian in chat's been saying this for a while. I think a lot of us agree with that. I think there are some people who disagree with me on the price, and they think that I'm crazy for saying $700 is okay to price a phone like this at, but I really don't think so. They need to price it lower. I agree with you. They just look lost at the moment. 4A will be a good move, but let's see. Yes, I agree. 4A is going to be a great move. Paul says Jerome's up there credibility-wise, snuggling up with John Processor. I'm not an app. I know it's John Prosser, guys. I'm not an Apple fan, but he just leaked Apple Glass for $499. Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about that. I have that somewhere later in my article. Thank you, though, with the credibility statement. I appreciate that, Paul. It means a lot to me. Let's see here. Deepak says, when the Pixel phones were introduced, Google did the same mistake many Android OEMs make, heavily raise prices without a strong brand name. I agree. And you know what sucks? You know what sucks about even just reading this part is where you say heavily raising prices without a strong brand name. I wish a company just wouldn't raise the prices in general. Like why would it be so bad for a company to keep their prices affordable but still make enough money that they could profit and that they can continue what they need to do? What happened to the mantra of, do no evil? That's the thing that bothers me. Why are we all of a sudden going to price a phone from $379 to $579 to 799 to whatever. You know what I mean? Like when I think about OnePlus and I think about the OnePlus 3, the OnePlus 3T, I I remember, if I remember correctly, I think I bought my OnePlus 3 at like 349 or 359 and then the 3T at 379 or something like that. And now the phone, if you want the best phone, you got to pay, what is it? 899 for it. Like, Jesus Christ, what happened? What happened, guys? I don't I don't, you guys know I bitch about prices all the time and I will continue to do so. I just think it's important that there's somebody out there that's making sure that we keep a lot of these companies in check. Guys, I see a super chat here. I'm scrolling down by Ronaldo. Ronaldo De Leon with a $5 super chat. Ronaldo, thank you, man. First of all, thank you for being a new member to the Phone Jerome channel. Thank you for being a new part of the squad, crew, team, whatever you want to put it. But Ronaldo, thank you also for the extra support with the $5. Pixel 5 XL hopefully comes with 256 gigs of storage and also at a good price of $800. Hopefully, yeah. So if it was up to me, if the Pixel, so I think the Pixel 5 would be fairly priced at $599. Would I like to see that lower than that? Yes, I would. But a Pixel 5 XL, if a Pixel 5 XL could be priced at $699 starting with 128 gigs of storage, and yeah, I wouldn't complain, I guess, to see $799 for 256 gigs. I mean, I'd love to see like just a $50 price hike, but 128 gigs of storage to 256 at 800, it wouldn't be so bad. 800 is still a lot of money. I mean, don't get me wrong, but to get the XL version, I could see that. I could see that going for that much. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. $599 though, I think is my max for a Pixel 5 with 128 gigs of internal storage. I hope they don't go higher. Part of me thinks that they might go higher. They might price it at $649 to compete with the iPhone 12, but who knows? Who knows? But Ronaldo, man, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support, guys. For everybody in here, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let me scroll back up. I know I'm missing stuff. Let me scroll back down. Sorry, I know I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything here. And I know I'm not going to be able to get to everybody in here, so I apologize for that. Big House Productions. Hey, Jerome, what's up, stream? Hey, Big House, nice to see you again. Thanks for making it. Always nice to see you. Glad you're in here. Glad you're in here. Selwonk says, I'd rather have them Moto hardware than HTC. Yes, 100% yes. Well, I don't know about Moto hardware today, but Moto back in the day when the Moto X Pure came out, I would have loved to see them continue that kind of hardware progression. That was when I really loved their hardware, being able to customize it. Guys, I should even just like show you my old pictures. I've showed my small tech chat that I'm with, my old pictures of my Moto X, but I had so many different Moto X's. I even had the Moto G's that I customized. And I mean, I think that I have them on my older videos from like 5 years ago, but those were some of my favorite phones. The Moto X Pure is one of my top all-time favorite phones. Moto X Pure, Nexus 6P, OnePlus 6. I think with almost 100% certainty, those three are some of my favorite phones of all time. Those three. Okay, let's see here. Tectonic says, decided to remove fingerprint sensor with few devs supporting the face unlock. Yes, we've complained about this in my tech chat as well. I still can't use my Chase app with face unlock. I still have to put a password in, making it less convenient and harder for Pixel owners, which is also, again, one of the big reasons I use my iPhone 11 Pro, because I can unlock it with Face ID, but I can't do it with my Pixel 4. Do you know how aggravating that is? That is, well, obviously you do, because you just pointed out, but it is a frustrating issue. And that's why, for me, I'm just like, just put the goddamn fingerprint reader back on the Pixel 4. Maybe they'll put it back on the Pixel 5, but I doubt it. Maybe not. Okay, let me scroll down here. Brian says, a lot of times I find the optimization is better on OnePlus than the Pixel. Brian, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of things that the OnePlus still gets right with the UI, and a lot of that is in terms of its performance and smoothness. And And I totally get that. There is something to be said though about a completely stock UI, but I know we've talked about this before. You know how I feel about that. We don't have to go into that right now. So let me see here. Tech for Your Needs says, I'm using the iPhone 10R, my third iPhone. What were your other ones? Is that so the iPhone 10R, is that your daily right now, or have you been using something else? I know you have more than one phone. I know you have a tech channel, so I know you have more than one. What else have you been using? Y2019 says Pixel 5 needs to be unique. Completely agree. Why? Completely agree. Not only for, well, let me read the rest of it before I go into it. Pixel 5 needs to be unique, either a very premium mid-ranger or a basic flagship, so no IP rating, so it's cheaper, but with the camera and updates that everyone loves. That is a perfect way. You couldn't take you took the words out of my mouth. I feel very similarly. I think for the Pixel 5 to be unique, I think, and I said this yesterday, what they need to do is when the Pixel 5 comes out, it needs to be so much better that it differentiates itself from the Pixel 4a. Because otherwise, what's going to happen are people who are going to be looking at the Pixel 5 are going to they're going to find the Pixel 4a and they're going to be like, well, why can't I just pay $350 for the Pixel 4a instead of spending $700 for the Pixel 5? That's where they need to differentiate itself. And that's where it needs to differentiate itself. And that's where the Pixel 5 needs to really, really up its game in the camera department this year. But we'll wait and see. And you're right. Otherwise, I would love to see that's a good way of putting it, a basic flagship. You don't have to put the 865 in there, but go ahead, put the 855, put the 855 plus. But yeah, then skimp on the other stuff. Don't give it wireless charging. Don't give it an IP rating. But I'm pretty sure Google's not going to do that. They're going to want to, they're going to want to go with the formula and market 5G and do what everyone else is doing. But I guess we'll wait it out. We have a couple months and, the rumors are going to come before that. And, when the rumors come out, I'm going to talk about it and we're going to talk about it in length. So, we'll go through it then. Ronaldo says, always, Jerome, I've been subbed to your channel for many years now. Your camera comparison videos are my favorite. Thank you, Ronaldo. I appreciate that. Brian also says, yeah, word is camera videos are awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Y says, for me, the Pixel 5 would be fairly priced at $499. I've been saying that for a while. I've been saying that for a while. You know what, though? It's not going to be priced at $499. I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure it won't be, because I think if they price it at $499, it might eat too much at the Pixel 4a, but maybe they'll price it at $549. If they're going to price the Pixel 4a at $349, I could see them pricing the 5 at $549, which would be fucking awesome. I would love to see it. And $579 for 256 gigs. And for the XL, the same, but 100 more. I mean, those would be dream prices, but I don't see that happening, but I would love to. I really would. Okay, so let's move on, guys. Let's talk about, what do I have here? Oh, okay. We have more Pixel talk. I actually, we'll talk about this. I'll ask you guys in chat too, but this article from Talk Android is talking about how Google is, they're going to be getting rid of the Google Assistant, the squeeze for Assistant. Where's my Pixel 4? That's how much I don't use it lately. Oh shit, I just dropped my stuff. Okay, it's right here. So, are you guys, I don't know if you guys own a Pixel. For you guys that do, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? When you squeeze I'm trying to put this, when you squeeze the bottom part of this phone here, Google Assistant comes up, which is, I have used it in the past, but I don't use it often. And I know Brian has used it, or Brian still uses it, but let me ask you guys, everyone else in the chat who's used it, as far as that squeeze for Google Assistant, do you guys use that? Is that something that's handy for you? For me, it hasn't been, but it looks like for the 4a, they're going to be getting rid of it. And if they do this, they might be getting rid of it for the Pixel 5 as well. Maybe. We talked about this yesterday, but they're going to be getting rid, for the Pixel 5, they're going to be getting rid of the solely radar chip. So no more motion sense. I don't know who's missing motion sense, but That's going to be gone. And maybe what Google's going to do now is they're going to start going for a no frills kind of deal. Maybe go back to what they used to do, but we'll see. It's been a feature of Google smartphones since the days of the Pixel 2 and 2 XL, but it seems that the upcoming Pixel 4a will launch without the ability to squeeze its sides to activate Google Assistant. It's a feature that used to annoy the heck out of me until I disabled it, but for some, it's likely the demise of a function that they are fond of. So this tweet here by Michelle Michelle Raman can confirm that ActiveEdge is not available on Julio Luzon's Pixel 4a. Julio Luzon, I think, is that one YouTuber who has all those videos of the 4a. I think he got a pre-production model somehow, and he's been pumping out videos out of that. Not a huge loss, especially since Google is adding a new double tap gesture that doesn't require special hardware. Actually, I haven't had a chance to talk about that. Have you guys heard about that? This double tap gesture on the Pixel on Pixel phones. I actually don't know too much about that. Actually, I want to see if we can dig into that. So yeah, double tapping the gesture on the rear of Pixel phones to launch the camera, assistant, and more on Android 11, which would be awesome. This is something that's been discussed, but I haven't really got into it, and I don't know how well it works or if you can how you set that. Can you set different gestures to do that? We can confirm that the following gestures are available through the new Columbus feature: dismiss a timer, launch the camera. So it could do a bunch of stuff, but here's a video showing the double tap gesture, playing, pausing media on a Pixel 2 XL running Android 11. Yeah, so he's just double tapping the rear, which I think is a pretty cool feature. Here's a video of me launching the Google Camera app on my Pixel 2 XL. That's pretty cool. I mean, obviously we all have the power button on the side, right, to launch the camera, but I would love that double tap to wake. I think that would be great. Well, anyway, let me go back here. So the one thing that I was actually going to talk about is the squeeze feature. The reason I don't use the Google Assistant, the reason I don't use the squeeze for Google Assistant feature is because I don't really use Google Assistant as much as I used to. I don't know why. I think if I ever need anything, I just check it up on my phone. There are times when I just don't feel like talking, right? For someone that talks a lot on stream, I do this shit daily. Maybe that's why I don't like talking much outside of the streams. But what I really would have liked for the squeeze feature is if they gave us customizability. Because the one thing that I would have used for the squeeze edges feature is to turn on the goddamn flashlight. The one thing that I hate the most is having to turn my screen on or whatever to turn the flashlight on. And I would have loved that squeeze feature just to turn the flashlight on. Because we don't have motos anymore. I mean, unless you have a moto, they still kept those, right? Where you could chop the phone twice to turn on the flashlight, which honestly I used a lot of the times when I had my Moto X Pure. But yeah, so it looks like they're going to be getting rid of it. The news comes courtesy of Julio Luzon, who managed to get some hands-on time with a pre-production Pixel 4a and discovered the omission of the ActiveEdge function. This was also confirmed by 9to5 Google's Stephen Hall on his personal Twitter account, with the Pixel 4a likely to be able to trigger the Google Assistant by pressing the power button. Is the omission of ActiveEdge really a huge loss? With that in mind, is it a feature you might consider to be a deal breaker if you were looking to buy the Pixel 4a when it launches next month? I'd be surprised if people say that is a deal breaker for them, that they wouldn't buy a Pixel because they got rid of ActiveEdge. But I could be wrong. Maybe people actually love using that, but it's something that I haven't used in a long time. It's on my phone. I never turned it off, but you'll be hard pressed for me to, that's a bad pun. I really didn't, but yeah, you'll be hard pressed for me to use it. All right, guys, let me see what's going on in chat here. Let me scroll back up. Sorry guys, just checking, seeing what's going on. More pixel leaks, Birdman hands. I use my squeeze all the time. It's just faster. Yeah, see, so I know there are people who do use it. Ronaldo does love it. Well, Ronaldo, let me ask you then, is that a deal breaker, or would you just be really upset if they didn't have it on the Pixel 5? And Brian says it too. I use squeezeology feature. Tectonic says I could live without it, and I do use it here and there. A lot of you guys use it. I'm surprised. Deepak says, I love those moto gestures. So do I, man. So do I. Y says, Pixel A should be the XR and 11 when it comes to colors, like having the rumored blue, also orange, not pink and purplish, could make this line more compelling and unique. That's true too. And it could be a good way to separate itself from, the flagship lineup and make the flagship lineup more premium. I guess go Apple's route. If Google's known for one thing, they kind of follow Apple's route for a couple things here and there. So you never know. Yeah, Ronaldo says if they got rid of it, I wouldn't be mad. But yeah, I can see how you guys have used it. Yeah, I feel like I'm in the minority here since I'm not the one that does use it, and you guys have been. So okay, we went through this already. But let's also talk about getting rid of stuff. This other article, I had it segue into this, and this article from 9 to 5 Google is talking about that the Galaxy Note 20 Plus camera will apparently ditch 100 times zoom, keep 108 megapixel camera. So Google's getting rid of the active edge feature, and the Galaxy Note 20 Plus is now getting rid of this 100 times zoom feature, which I think a lot of us have figured out was pretty shit to begin with. Okay, so let's go into it. Samsung's Galaxy S20 Ultra has a disappointing camera setup, and one of the biggest things Samsung has been advertising about the Array is its 100 times zoom capabilities. And I almost bought into this, guys. I almost spent $1,400 on this phone. Luckily, I didn't have the money to buy it, so I just got to hear the shitstorm about this phone later. $1,400. That's a lot of money for a phone that's going to have camera issues. Clearly, though, the company agrees that the results aren't great, as the Galaxy Note 20 Plus apparently won't ship with 100 times zoom. The Galaxy S20 and S20 Plus both shipped with digital zoom that maxed out at 30 times. That's more than most smartphones offer, but with the Galaxy S20 Ultra, a periscope zoom lens allowed Samsung to zoom in even farther at 100 times. On all three phones, though, zoom at that level just doesn't look good, making it a little confusing why Samsung bothered including the higher levels and advertising it so heavily. Making it a little confusing. Why? The reason that they did it is because Samsung wants to boast that it has 100 times zoom, that it has 108 megapixel camera, because for them, it's about dick measuring. It's a pissing contest. When the iPhone 11 Pro, which is probably one of the best cameras to date, has a 12 megapixel camera, and then these guys are boasting about 108 megapixels and they're having issues up the ass. That's why it's not confusing. They're trying to brag about how big their dick is. And it's not that impressive, guys. Now it's rumored that the Galaxy Note 20 Plus will abandon the highest zoom levels entirely. Ice Universe says the Samsung isn't bringing 100 times zoom to the Galaxy Note 20 Plus. There aren't many concrete rumors about the camera array on that device, but it's expected to retain the 108 megapixel camera and have some form of zoom sensor. That 108 megapixel sensor too will apparently implement some hardware changes to fix autofocus issues. So it's not just Google making mistakes. All companies do, but can you imagine the balls on a company to release a $1,400 phone and to have fuck ups like that? I'm sure there's going to be a good amount of people who are going to be like, my phone doesn't have issues. My $1,400 phone doesn't have issues. I never have any of those autofocus issues that these guys are complaining about. And maybe you don't, but maybe you also don't use the camera as often as some other people do. I could be wrong, but I also cannot justify spending $1,400 for a phone. And to see that 100 times zoom being taken away, that was one of their main points on selling that phone. That was a big marketing thing for Samsung. And maybe the people who bought that phone fell for it. I mean, fuck, I almost fell for it. I'm glad I didn't spend that money. Last night, the first design leaks of the Galaxy Note 20 also hit the web to show off the basic design Samsung is aiming for with this upcoming device. That design, too, left 3 cutouts for camera sensors. Oh, that's it. So Ice Universe says here, Note 20 series no longer retains 100 times zoom function, and also says we'll still use 108 megapixel HM1, but add a new sensor to assist in focusing and completely solve the focusing problem, a problem that they should have never had in the first place. Do you guys own a S20, S20 Plus, S20 Ultra? What's confusing for me is this Note 20 that's going to be coming out, because how big is this Note 20? How big is this Note 20 going to be? Or is it just going to be an updated S20? Or are they just going to be bigger? Is the Note 20 going to be bigger than the S20 Ultra? Because goddamn, how big is a phone going to get at this point? I don't know. I'll look forward to seeing it. How big are phones going to get? Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's continue on. This article from Android Central. If you guys haven't heard about this, no, the OnePlus 8 Pro doesn't have an X-ray camera. Here's what's actually happening. I talked about this last week on my stream, or a week and a half ago, or however long it was, where the OnePlus 8 Pro has that color filter camera, or whatever it's called. And if you use it, people have noticed that it can kind of see through translucent plastic, not glass, maybe plastic. Let's read about it. I didn't read it here. It just says here, let me teach you how infrared light works. You may have heard that people have discovered the OnePlus 8 Pro's dedicated color filter camera has a bonus feature. It can see through some plastic. The capability, generally now being dubbed as an X-ray camera, has picked up steam and of course immediately switched gears to privacy concerns. To read about them having privacy concerns, I think is a little paranoia at this point. After some discovered it can partially reveal what's behind thin clothing as well. Let's set things straight. The OnePlus 8 Pro's color filter camera is not an X-ray camera, nor is it actually designed to let you see through objects. That would be pretty cool from a technical perspective, particularly if OnePlus actually knew this beforehand. It didn't, but sadly there's a much more mundane explanation. So it lets you see through objects that were actually already transparent. You just didn't know it because your eyes can't see the same kind of light that the camera can. And then he goes through that explanation. I'm not going to go through all of that, but there are a couple examples here. You'll see, like on a remote control, obviously you can see it because you guys know what I'm talking about. That's plastic. The same with the phone here. Oh, the top bezel reveals sensors and cameras used for proximity sensing and face unlock. And then for like a Roomba, I have one of these. And even I could tell with this Roomba, you could kind of see through this plastic. So that's really about it. There is a whole privacy concern issue, but I'm not really going to get into it. I think it's a little silly at this point, but yeah, I don't know. So, okay. Let me kind of finish off the hour here, guys. I actually had this article from Mint Arcade. I haven't seen Mint Arcade in a couple days, and I feel a little bad because I know Mint Arcade lives in a time zone where I think he catches my stream at like 1 or 2 a.m. And I know I've been streaming a little later, so it might be past when he's usually up. But occasionally Mint Arcade sends me an article or two, and I kind of wanted to touch base with this. So Mint Arcade, if you're watching this through Replay Crew, I appreciate you sending me an article. This isn't the exact one he sent me, but I already had something like this ready to queue up. So Sony Xperia 1 Mark II launches in Japan on May 22nd. Japanese carrier KDDI has announced that it will begin selling the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II on May 22nd. Priced at JPY 133,600, and all these other different price points here, 1145 euro, and then $1,200 US. It's not surprising. Sony sells a lot of their phones for expensive amounts. For the lone 8 gig RAM, 256 gig variant, NTT Docomo is also expected to release the Xperia 1 Mark II to its Japanese customers soon. So the one thing about this Xperia 1 Mark II is I believe it's their flagship or one of their flagship phones, but apparently the camera's supposed to be badass on it. It's supposed to have technology in it that is getting taken from their alpha series of mirrorless phones, which I'd be excited to see, like what kind of capabilities this phone has. Sony announced the Xperia 1 Mark II back in February. It has a 6.5-inch 4K OLED display, a triple 12 megapixel camera with regular 16. It's been a long hour, guys. 16 millimeter ultra wide and 3x telephoto sensors, eye autofocus for the main and ultra wide cameras, and a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Looking forward to it. Don't know. I'm sure it's going to come to the US, but I'm sure it's going to be really expensive as well. And I'm not going to be spending $1,200 on the phone, but I would really be looking for. I'm looking forward to seeing how well these cameras are going to do. But we'll see. I'm sure when it gets released, or when people get their hands on it and can take camera samples, I'm actually curious to see how well this camera does, and to see how it fares against something like an iPhone 11 or a Pixel 4. So again, though, Mint Arcade, if you are watching this eventually in like a future replay, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for DMing me. Appreciate giving me some content to talk about on my stream. So, but yeah, that's about it. Okay, let me just go back into the chat here. Paul says, in terms of quote pissing contest stuff, way bigger. OP is shutting down that cam in the next update, says XDA. Yeah, I heard about that too. So that see-through camera or whatever, they're going to be either changing it or whatever they're doing. I'm not exactly sure. 1-2 Creative says, Juan Bagnell nodding his head happily on that megapixel comment. Yeah, that was a megapixel, John processor. Those are some gaffes I end up saying. Deepak says that this Sony looks interesting, but $1,200, man, it's a lot of money. $1,200, but it doesn't surprise me. Sony prices their phones at much higher prices, and they seem to do that pretty consistently. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to round out the hour here. Real quick, for anybody that just came in, this stream will replay again, so feel free, guys, to replay this video. Replay squad, replay crew. If you guys haven't, please like the video. Liking the video helps me in an algorithmic way, aka I think it helps people find my stream. I do stream Monday through Friday, so feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I stream every day, Monday through Friday. Not every day, but I stream weekdays at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central starting. That's usually what time I stream. And if you guys haven't already, I do have a membership on my channel. If you see people in the chat with green in their names, if you see a red Chicago star next to their name, that's because they are a member of my channel. And they're a member because they can because they want to support, but also it gives them a couple perks. And you can support for as little as 99 cents a month. You'll get the green in your name, you'll get the red Chicago star, and you'll get to use certain custom emoji, and you'll get your name in every intro and outro of my live streams. And you know, there are different tiers for that as well, but either way, it supports me for you guys just to like join the stream, just to be in here, just to like the videos, just to engage in chat, to talk to everybody. It means a lot to me, and I can't thank you guys enough. So with that being said, I might end it here. No, I am ending it here. I'm just propping up the outro and getting it ready. But guys, thank you so much. Come back tomorrow around 12 to 1 p.m. Central. Let's do it all over again. We'll talk about more tech stuff. We'll talk about things that you know, are important in the tech community, things that are interesting for me. And it's always nice to see you guys, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. So have a good one, guys. See you then. Later.